everybody, DJ Rob the Mel Guy here with another musical rant. This will be musical rant number 2 with Yuvraj and I. We run the website rockmelzone.com.
Yeah?
Yeah, we do. It's a good website.
Very.
Now, today's topic we will be discussing is shock rock or theatrical rock metal too. Theatrical metal, bands such as Gwar, Ghoul I'm wearing, one of the bands. Also going back to the rock bands such as Kiss, Alice Cooper, the New York Dolls.
A lot of places. It's even in rap.
Rap?
Digital Underground. You see Shock G wearing the Groucho Marx mask.
Yes, you also have punk bands like the Spoets and the infamous G.G. Allen. But let's begin at let's start here at the beginning of shock rock or shock theatrical music with Alice Cooper and Kiss in the 70s. When these guys first came out, and it even goes further than that when you say Arthur Brown. He was one of the original, you can say, art rock creative guys. Peter Gabriel in Genesis was going on stage wearing giant costumes and flower heads, doing some stuff. But Alice Cooper and Kiss to me really stand out in the harder world, the hard rock and metal world. Alice Cooper especially was just doing some stuff, cutting off babies' heads on stage, well, fake babies, and killing them. Well, there's a lot of bands that have copied that, and Ghoul's one of them. If you've ever seen one of their live shows, they killed a fake baby or two. But Alice Cooper was doing that. He was killing himself. He killed himself in numerous ways. That to me was where it really got heavy and shocking. That's when the audience and parents and priests were going crazy about it. As Alice Cooper was even banned in London, some of his concerts. And then Kiss came along. Here I have the first Kiss, or my first Kiss CD. This is actually the third one from their discography. This is Dress to Kill. Kiss comes along, you have 4 guys wearing makeup, breathing fire, right. Ace Frehley shooting rockets out of his guitar, the smoking guitar, and then Gene Simmons spitting blood. Little kids had nightmares for sure, I'm sure, back in the 70s. And Yuvraj, what is your take on Alice Cooper, Kiss, you could say the godfathers of shock theatrical rock and roll?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to theatrical bands like Kiss or Alice Cooper, it's great if they do incorporate it into it, but I don't think it should be the entire shtick of the band. For Kiss, when somebody talks to me about Kiss, the first thing that comes to mind is these guys wearing face paint.
Yes, that's true.
The black and white, the long hair, stuff like that.
But see, I look at it as they were doing something different. They were trying something different, but also they realized if they really wanted to make it big, they were going to have to do something different and kind of experiment and, be creative at that time. They weren't pretty enough to be the next Led Zeppelin or the next, they weren't going to be the Beatles.
Right.
But they were hugely influenced by the Beatles, and if you listen to Kiss's songs, they're very simple, catchy rockin' songs.
Right.
And that's where you hear that influence. But they realized they weren't going to get thousands of screaming girls. Yet Gene Simmons said that he's had a lot of women in his dressing room after the shows. And other than that, let's not get into that too much.
Right.
But it's that example of Kiss really did hit it in their own way. And I gotta say, they got some great music. Right. On this album alone, I love songs like Getaway. She's a great song. That's actually from the original band, Wicked Lester, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons band. And it's great music. I really like it. It's just unfortunate, like you said, right when you think of Kiss, it comes to mind, oh, they wear makeup. See, if you didn't hear Kiss, if you just heard the music, you might not think that. You'd actually have to kind of make an opinion and judgment based off the music, which sometimes I think that people, if you listen to Kiss in the 80s when they didn't have the makeup, you couldn't tell me the difference, actually. Like, oh, which era has makeup if you were to play it for someone, which is nice because then they're judging the music.
Right. No, it should always be about the music.
And guess what? Alice Cooper, surprisingly, he had a lot of big hits, especially on the radio. He had School's Out, a well-known song covered, and even was played on the Muppets. Alice Cooper got so big.
A lot of commercials now as well. I think Target used it once for their... it was Target or Staples, I believe. And
he had, again, Billion Dollar Babies was a really hot selling album in 1970. I can't remember the exact date. I think it was 71, 72, or 73, that early 70 period.
Right.
It was a hot selling album. He also had some hits when he kind of left the Alice Cooper band. He really just had, focused on himself. Alice Goes to Hell, The Alice Cooper Show, Only Women Bleed. These were songs that people actually thought, they didn't realize it was Alice Cooper because they're very melodic. One was even a ballad. He wrote a ballad, kind of.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you, Alice Cooper, who had that shock theatrical side to him, was still focused, and he's always said this too, which I like about Alice Cooper. He says to young bands out there, the image is great. Yeah, work on the image, be evil, look scary, look tough, but you have to have the songs. You have to have the good music. And he definitely did that, I think.
Well, I mean, he still brought it to the table. I mean, the guy's a great musician, and he has a unique image, which I think is important for each artist. They should always have their own image, but their music should do all the speaking for them, I think.
That's very true. And as it progressed, the theatrical shock side of rock and turns into more metal, I mean, look at the 80s. Slayer wasn't shock theatrical, but those guys, what they were doing with the satanic, the imagery, and actually they were influenced heavily by Venom, this band from England that was, you know, supposedly Satanist. They were wearing the spikes, and they influenced black metal. Their album actually was titled Black Metal, you know, funny enough, that it influences it, and that kind of spawns on. And then King Diamond, one of my favorite artists. I'm a huge King Diamond fan. Merciful Fate, that influenced Metallica. But King himself would come out wearing makeup and this, you know, have this evil persona. You know, I remember King Diamond in an interview said that people thought he'd sleep in a coffin or something on the tour, and if you wake King Diamond up, he'll put a curse on you.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is he had that side to him, but it was still about the music.
Right.
Now,
I mean, that's really the most important thing.
Now let's kind of bring up the band that to me really is the turning point of the theatrical and shock, and these guys really do it to where they're tied to that genre because of it. In metal, Gwar.
Right.
If you're a metal fan, I'm pretty sure Gwar, you may have not heard their music, but you have heard about how this band is possibly one of the most outrageous metal bands in the history of hard rock and metal. You cannot deny it. Scum Dogs of the Universe. I like some of the music on that album, but when you see the video for Sick of You, you just see the monsters, you see the blood and everything. And then if you go and see Gwar like I did, it's an experience. And sometimes there's this debate, does that take away from the music? Now, Gwar's had some great musicians in their band. Corey Smoot, the guitarist that passed away, he was Flatus Maximus, was an amazing guitar player. And to me, he actually helped Gwar kind of get a little more known for their songs, because their theatrics, I felt, in the 90s just were over the top. And like you said, the Jerry Springer show, it was a pretty big moment where you got to see a display of shock rock and what they were doing. But they were actually very articulate in that interview, especially Odorous.
Odorous Youngest, I mean, the guy was extremely articulate, extremely polite as well, you could tell.
Yeah, I interviewed him on the Hard Rock and Heavy Metal Zone. He was a great guest. At first, I mean, it's tough because you're talking to a character.
Right.
And that's what it was really, you know, I've had that happen before too with Digestor from the thrash metal band Ghoul. You have to talk to them, they're in character. But after a while you get used to it and you realize what these guys are doing is they understand that they are characters, but they still bring it to the music world.
Or like Odorous said, I mean, they do it for fun. I mean, they enjoy what they do.
Exactly. It's all about playing the music, and they have this for the enjoyment for the live shows. I saw Ghoul, Gwar, they also had Municipal Waste and Legacy of Disorder, but Ghoul and Gwar, they were great bands, and especially Ghoul. They're an awesome thrash metal band. Definitely check out Ghoul. The album that I highly recommend is the Maniacs LP. You can buy that on 10 Crimes Records. They have it on vinyl now. It's actually splattered colored orange and so many cool specials. But that album is awesome, and their thrash-based sound is, to me, really good. Yeah. It's just they do have, you know, the alter egos. You know, the members are cannibalistic ghouls from the place called Creepsylvania. They have their own backstory. It's like with Gwar. It's
they really get into it.
They do. But the thing is, it's good music still in the end when you listen to it.
Right.
When you go see them, that's when I feel that's when the shock and the theatrical image takes over. But when you listen to the album, it's about the music. I'm not thinking of, oh, I'm going to get, you know, fake blood sprayed on me, or, oh, decapitating people or celebrities. No, you're listening to the music.
When I listen to Kiss on my iPod, I mean, I usually don't, I mean, sure, when the song comes, I think, okay, guys in makeup singing. But after that, I mean, just listen to the music. the music on its own is wonderful.
Exactly. You know, these are great hard rock and metal bands. And as I said, in black metal it kind of transcribed, but they to me focused heavily on the music, and they were just, in a way, a lot of those guys did shocking things, I felt, because they were trying to be shocking by cutting themselves on stage. The singer for Mayhem, I remember, he'd have spikes and knives and all this other stuff. To me, yes, they're doing that, but still, these guys did think of the music first and foremost.
Right.
The imagery, the kind of gimmick, like bands like Venom, and Slayer doesn't do it too much, but I sometimes, you know, Slayer's version of satanic metal and music to me is a little, I think they have some, they believe in, you know, they're very forthcoming with their music.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes when they sing about Satan and, you know, like God hates us all, Tom Araya goes, I don't think God hates us all, I think it sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not, to me, they're not gimmicky.
Right.
Where let's say now a band such as, a punk band, such as the Mentors, that was pretty bad. That was beyond trying to get a gimmick going.
El Duce?
El Duce. And then even the Spoets. Those guys, they were more of just a random, crazy band that shoot firecrackers.
There was more people that played random musical instruments just playing at one time and not sounding like anything.
Yeah, that to me was really, but again, they were going for shock. They were trying to get people to go to their shows. You hear the Spoets are going to throw firecrackers in the audience. They've got naked women on stage.
They never burned a place down, which is...
I don't know if that's for true. I still think that...
Well, maybe the fire department was called.
Maybe the fire department was twice, I think. But I don't know too much about it. I've seen the videos, and you're seeing this show, and then they have a grinder. It's a saw, and they're cutting up a piece of sheet metal, shooting sparks all over. It's a guitar, actually, with a saw on it. That's shock. That's trying to be outrageous. The music, again, I never...
I mean, with them it seems as though their entire shtick is being outrageous.
Yeah, and then, well, look at it. I mean, they used to play with a guy named G.G. Allen. If you're not familiar with G.G. Allen, G.G. Allen is the all-time shock rock. You know, people think Marilyn Manson is scary and gives people nightmares, and he's all... No, Marilyn Manson is nothing. Marilyn Manson is kiddie-ish compared to what G.G. Allen was doing. G.G. would cut himself on stage. Gigi would run around naked on stage, and the last one, Gigi would go to the bathroom on stage. This guy...
He would defecate on stage.
This guy took shock and just being outrageous to a whole new level. And sometimes, I don't know if Gigi actually was doing it for the show, or he just was doing it. Was he?
I mean, I'm pretty sure that he was mentally unhinged.
There's got to be something a little wrong with somebody to defecate on stage. But I will give respect to the Murder Junkies. Merle and Dino are good musicians, and they had some very, you know, when it came to punk, it was rebellious, it was angry, it was straightforward punk, you know, rock and roll, and those guys really had to work and play around the outrageousness of Gigi. I would have never, I mean, again, those guys, it's crazy because Gigi passed away in the 90s.
Right.
Would he still be going? Would he still be doing it in this era when you have cell phones? Because he was on Jerry Springer.
Probably, he probably would. Gigi was or El Duce?
Well, Gigi was on an episode of Springer.
I don't think I saw that episode.
But, I mean, would he have still gone, even with the attention now we have more media, stuff like that? I mean, like I said, Marilyn Manson is portrayed as this villain. I mean, he was blamed for Columbine pretty much.
I mean, so, that's a good question, actually. I mean,
would Gigi still be able to have that persona? Because, I mean, people nowadays, when it comes to shock and theatrical, they're not doing it like the guys used to back then. To me, it's really polished up there. It's a gimmick. It's a straightforward gimmick, like the band Ghost out of Sweden. If anyone thinks that band is really satanic, I love the first album, Opus Anonymous. I mean, there's the review on Rock and Metal Zone where I talk about how I love the first album. There's a whole history I have with that album. But after a while, they're a band that just got caught up in their gimmick, and I just cannot believe people will say that this is a great satanic band. Really, people, they're only satanic when they want your money. These guys are sitting back and making money. I mean,
satanic bands that come out with their own dildos.
Yeah, that's again, to me, that's buying off what Kiss did. But I don't think Kiss had their own dildos. Kiss had condoms.
And coffins.
Yeah, coffins and condoms. There's a difference between butt plugs and dildos.
Right.
I mean, Ghost has taken it to a whole new level. But again, It's not like G.G. Allen. It's not like when Gwar first came out. It's not like a lot of those, even like Lizzie Borden and then Wasp in the 80s, these hair metal bands that would, Wasp would throw raw meat into the audience. To me, what Ghost is and what a lot of the other bands like the Black Veil Brides, they're a show. Kind of like, which is funny, is like the New York Dolls and Kiss were in the early 70s. These guys were like dressed up like drag queens, right?
Yeah.
It was a show.
Yeah.
They were just doing it to be outrageous, but
right.
it was a look at us. They weren't serious. You didn't have fake blood being sprayed that much. You didn't have guys, fighting monsters.
Yeah.
And that's what it is kind of today. And to me, the only band that I see that carries it and then is able to make good music is this band right here, Ghoul. When it comes to theatrical, metal, and still making great music, Ghoul is to me about the only band. Ghost, they still are a good band in their own way. They have great music. Their last album I'm not a huge fan of, but I'm not going to get into that. To me, again, they have the theatrical side, but they still focus on the music. They're another good band. So Ghost and Ghoul I highly recommend. And I recommend Gwar. But at the same time, I do tell people Gwar is a band that...
Right. I mean, to get the full experience of Gwar, you need to go to the show.
Yes. And now, the last person we're going to bring up is shock rock. This guy, to Yuvraj and I, is the most outrageous, hilarious, greatest old school dirty rapper that we can give a shout out to. If you want to talk about shocking and funny, Blowfly.
Yes. I respect the guy immensely. I mean, sure, he might be insane. Okay, that's a kind way of putting it. Sure, he might be crazy, but the guy influenced a lot of rappers.
He was doing the dirty that rap that was pretty much explicit before the 90s hit.
Right.
When, parents were going, oh my god, this is parental advisory. I'm surprised Tipper Gore was not going after Blowfly.
I mean, with
his albums in the 70s.
Wouldn't even be parental advisory. I mean, I don't think Tipper Gore would, nobody would want it published.
His stuff, to me, especially Rap Dirty, that album, and then Blowfly's Convoy, the one that Snoop Dogg loves.
Yeah.
It's interesting how this guy really was way before, the times. Kind of like, Alice Cooper.
He was definitely ahead of the curve.
To me,
yeah.
To me, he's kind of like the Alice Cooper of rap.
Right.
You have Alice Cooper's for hard rock and metal, and Blowfly is for rap.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were just pushing boundaries, but they still were focusing on music. And fact about Blowfly, ghostwriter.
Amazing ghostwriter.
He had some hits from some R&B Motown artists, so that just goes to show you there's a theatrical side, but a lot of these musicians at the end of the day do have some great music, and we definitely recommend checking out. Even if we'll even say check out the Spoets, check out G.G. Allen, check out
you gotta listen
not the Mentors. I don't like the Mentors. I'm sorry, but check out the stuff just to see it.
Right.
But sometimes look at the theatrical for like, oh wow, this is shocking, this is outrageous. But still,
take it with a grain of salt. Remember, it's all entertainment.
It's entertainment, and that's what the whole music business is entertainment.
Right.
And an artist that goes out wearing a bunch of makeup and singing horrible pop, auto-tune music, they're no different than G.G. Allen going out on stage and taking a crap.
Right. I guess you could say Lady Gaga is theatrical.
Lady Gaga versus G.G. Allen, it's over. We already know who
G.G. Allen will fucking kill her.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
So, that's actually a good thing. But moving on, this has been a musical rant number 2. DJ Rob Milgon, Yuvraj Singh. We'll have more musical rants. Put on below the comments here, talk about some other theatrical rock bands we may have missed, or what's your take on theatrical shock rock and the genre of music? It could be hard rock, metal, punk, rap, pop, whatever, just talk about it. What's your thoughts? Also, give us suggestions for another video maybe. We'll address your questions too on our podcast, the Unfiltered Truth Podcast, which can be seen and heard. Actually, it'll be heard, but you can go to the website and get it on www.rockandmetalzone.com. Well, thank you guys for watching. We will be signing out. Until next time, everybody, listen to awesome hard rock and metal, and also sometimes explore other genres, but for the most part, hard rock and metal is the best place to go.
Well, I say rap personally, but...
Okay, you're right.
Rap, hard rock. There you go.
But wait a minute. Not the new rap, right?
Not the new rap. Keep it to the 70s to 90s.
There we go. Gotta be specific. Hard rock, metal, check it all out. Later.